Well, let's see what's at my door. It's a box. Well, I think that's most of it. It's not too heavy and very well made. Very nice little self-contained box. Few more things. I don't know where they go yet. I guess I'll have to figure it out. Bambu P1S, and yeah, it's actually smaller than I want, which is good because I didn't want a massive thing on my counter. I wanted something kind of portable, and this is a really good size. So let's get it running. Actually, that's the next step. But now I got to figure out how to get the stuff out of the print bed, or under the print bed. There's some foam, and not all of it is very self-intuitive, but I'll figure it out. Well, I've now had the Bambu Lab, singular. It's always so weird to say lab instead of labs. Bambu Lab P1S for several weeks now, and I think I got a pretty good feeling of what I like, what I don't like about it, and I'm going to share that. I'll start with overall how I feel. I like it. I like it a lot. It's a really good printer. It does a great job. There's a reason people recommend it. I can't review every printer out there because I've only had two, the Crealty Ender 3 and this one. So the only two printers I've ever owned for 3D printers. So I'm just going to give what I feel about this one from my experience. And yeah, it makes really good prints. The quality is excellent. The printer works great. It's not a miracle worker. There have been issues with it, things that have come up, and I'll discuss those things. Not a lot, and not to ruin it, but little things. Again, it's not going to work miracles. It's still going to sometimes take a little work. And to be clear, it does help if you're on the really fine settings and you're using a good filament and you're not using ABS. Now, as far as what I like the fact that it's easy to set up. It's pretty much plug and play. I mean, there's some things to adjust. It's mainly to take care of the shipping issues when they ship it out. There's all this tape around it and cardboard and things. The instructions definitely could be better. I think I looked at a video once or twice because, like, I don't know what's going on here. But I would say it took longer than it probably should have. Maybe half an hour. But when the Crealty is one, how to do it from scratch. That took, like 4 hours or something. So this one wasn't too bad. It's really kind of plug and play, but there's little things connecting to the network, getting the printer on the network. So that kind of slowed me down a little bit. I like the enclosure. My last one didn't have an enclosure, and I started using a cardboard box that a suitcase came in, just because I wanted to, to not deal with the elements as much. The enclosure is excellent, cuts down on noise, and yeah, I would say if you have the choice between the two, just get the enclosure. The smells cut down. There's just so many reasons. Gotta have an enclosure. Now, I don't have a decimeter, whatever they call it. I can't measure the sound, but to me, it's pretty quiet. It's its printer and it's printing, but I don't mind the noise. I do keep it in another room, so it doesn't really bother me that much. But from the other room, the door closed, I can't even tell it's printing. Sometimes it's not. As far as fast, seems pretty fast to me. I don't know how, it seems faster than my Crealty was, and sometimes I look at it just going really fast, but other times it seems a little slower. Again, different settings, but overall, I think the jobs get done in a pretty good amount of time. The camera is awesome. The camera is something I really like. For my Crealty, I had to kind of build a Raspberry Pi unit, connect it with Octoprint and do all this stuff, and it kind of worked, but it was kind of rigged. Here, it's built into it, and you get the prints. It automatically will take the videos for you, so you get the time-lapse video, that kind of stuff. That's really cool. I do like the camera a lot. Heat bed is really well made, and I like the fact that the magnetic plate comes off, and then you can just kind of bend it a tiny bit. However, I've also learned that it's just best to wait till the thing completely cools down, and most of the prints will just lift right off. So yeah, if you're having to take it out and bend it, you probably need to wait for it to cool down. It's just a better way to go. Auto leveling, I should have led with this. This is by far one of the best features it has, and a lot of printers do, but the Crealty didn't, and I think it still doesn't. So auto leveling, I hated always having to level the bed, and I'd let it go for a while, and then suddenly the prints wouldn't be as good. That's just a pain. I would say by far, auto leveling is one of the best features that I'm just getting used to now, the benefits. It's like heated seats for a car when you've never had it. It's really cool when it gets cold in the winter. And finally, the networking does a really good job connecting it. Some people don't like to go through the cloud, but I'm getting all this stuff I had to use Octoprint and other ways, or constantly put in chips and stuff like that. The micro SD card and the other ones, that's all gone. Yeah, over the network is great, and it's all, again, plug and play. It's all taken care of for you once you get the account set up and stuff. So that's another huge thing that I really like about having a new printer, a new 3D printer. Okay, dislikes. Well, there's not a whole lot actually, but there's a couple little things that I'm not fond of. I will say that I don't try to, judge it for what it doesn't even claim to be. It's a very small screen LCD display, but they're not saying it is a big one. You can pay more money for a big one. I don't need the LCD to be any bigger. I don't know why I'm saying this with dislikes, because, well, maybe a little bit. Use it once in a while for getting the filaments replaced and stuff like that, but otherwise, I don't really care. I'm glad I saved the money and didn't spend it on something I don't really need. Now, someone else had pointed out it doesn't have like a speaker for sound, but again, I don't really think it needs something like that. It can tell me something through my app if I need to know anything. The calibration sequence is really long. I don't know if that's like 15 minutes or something, and I haven't had to use it much except for one time it was printing about, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches up in the air and just kind of throwing thread around. So I thought, okay, I think it needs a calibration. I don't know how that happened. I did have to stop a few prints, cancel them, so maybe that affected it, but yeah, for whatever reason, it was going crazy, and luckily I caught it. It would be cool. Again, I'm not judging it for what it doesn't claim to be, but it would be great if it did have some sort of AI or some sort of intelligence to realize I'm just, shooting out filament here for no good reason. And finally, the price. The price is pretty high with tax, and I think I bought one filament. It was like $800, so it's not cheap. I'll keep it a long time. I had my last one for years, so it's an investment, but it's pretty expensive. So as I said, I can only compare it to the Crealty Ender 3. For those two, I would definitely, I guess for me, I would get this one every time now, because I know I have some 3D printing to do, and I really like not having the bed leveling issues and all that kind of stuff, the enclosure. But for someone else, you can still get the Ender 3 for $150 at Walmart and a little more on Amazon. So if you're just getting into 3D printing and you don't know what you're gonna do, I know someone that she's got one and she's never even turned it on, never even finished building it, but never even used it. So some people, they don't get into it. So I would say not to maybe start off with this one unless you know for sure. Or maybe have worked with a friend on it or something, but otherwise, that's just so much more money for something that you may not use much. So if it's going to sit in the closet after a few months or the garage, then maybe get the Crealty 3, which still doesn't have bed leveling. Just crazy. Okay, as far as some notes, if you stuck around this far, and this is really if you're new to this kind of stuff and you're thinking, oh wow, maybe I'll try it out. Avoid ABS if you can, unless you have a really good reason for it. It just has problems, and this printer, not a miracle worker, it's gonna have problems too. Lifting off the bed is one, stringiness is another one, and not to mention it's toxic fumes. There's almost just no good reason to go with ABS for most people, so the PLA is where to go. I use it a little bit. I've used it for some prints like a car holder, because it's gonna be out in the hot sun for, sometimes, so I kind of wanted that extra protection, but otherwise I've had a lot of problems with ABS and still have problems with this one with the ABS, so definitely do not recommend using that. The support system, well, the overhangs, it actually does a surprisingly good job when there's even no support. Sometimes it can do things just like, how did you get past gravity there? But other times the logic in it isn't really good enough, and it's put supports that just didn't work. It tried to go too far. I mean, if it's small, yeah, but if it goes really far, no. And they just kind of destroyed a print really far into it. So the support system, the software sometimes doesn't always think it through. So you kind of have to maybe do an extra check on it, think, okay, I think that'll work. But when you're on, again, the higher the quality setting, the better chance you'll have it of working. But do keep that in mind. So that's about it. Some of the things I have printed so far was I do customize things. There's a stack where I hold these stickers. It's a tray. It holds these special stickers I use for calendars. That was a pretty cool print. I printed a drone case for my DJI drone. I wanted something just very tight and small. Didn't want to carry around the heavier cases. That's ABS. Very small and tidy. I did a kind of like a spice rack, but this is for like essential oils. Pretty easy and quick to print, so that one was kind of fun. I enjoyed that one. I modeled it in Blender. I use Blender. There's other programs, but that's what I use because I know it. A cup holder. I did a cup holder for my car because I had a mug that didn't fit into any cup holders in the car. So I just made my own and it worked great. This is an odd one. It was a Geiger counter, not a real functional one, but a prop. I just printed all the pieces. I bought the CAD model online, printed all the pieces, and I never finished the project, but I'm going to someday. And it's funny, I almost want to get a plastic recycler or a filament recycler because I do have some stuff like failed prints where it just went too thin on the side, and now I'm going to break it even more. I do a lot of test prints. I always recommend like tiny things. This was like the drone case that just was not good enough, but kind of worked there, and this isn't the final one, but that was a fun project. All right, that's it. I hope that's helped. The Bambu Lab P1S. So far, so good. I'll update it if anything changes. So, cheers.